It's Monday, October 30th, 2023, and this is episode 294 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Yeah, we missed an episode, Dr. Mike.
I know.
It's been a month since we've recorded. 4 weeks. So
has it really?
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? We're actually releasing on our scheduled day. It's just we didn't release on our previous scheduled day. So,
well, there's a good reason for it.
Yeah,
right?
Sorry about that, folks. Normally we would have recorded on the Sunday when we were at ZorkFest, but it's more than that. When I got back from ZorkFest, it turns out that a window opened up for my parents to move into a senior living facility. So, of course, we jumped on that, and that took up so much of my time. And then trying to coordinate with you, Dr. Mike, I know you've been busy as well.
Oh, I've had 2 very, very busy weeks.
Yeah, we finally just had to throw our hands up and say, all right, we're just going to miss an episode, and sorry about that. So we're back, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
So
as bad as ever.
But we had a very good time at ZorkFest. So Sherry and I actually went up a couple of days beforehand and did all the Lake Tahoe. You know what, Mike? I think Lake Tahoe is my favorite spot. I mean, not counting, where we live and what have you. I love San Diego. I love Lake Tahoe. And it's funny that I'm just coming to that realization because I've been going there off and on since I was a teenager. I just love it. The trees and...
Do you love Lake Tahoe more than like Yosemite or...
Same kind of thing. It's just that Lake Tahoe, it's like this oasis, right? You know, when you're down in Reno, there's a certain look to the layout and just the whole... I
gotcha.
And, you go up, it's just a basin, right? It's these mountains just, came up and created this basin in this huge lake. And so, in a way, it's kind of isolated. I know what you're saying. Yeah, Yellowstone and Yosemite, other national parks, that kind of thing. But,
right.
Oh, I love that.
Lake Tahoe is very, very pretty.
Yeah.
It's very hard to live there. And that's why their economy in the town of Lake Tahoe is bad because it's very expensive. And then people can't live there. They have to live far away. And if they drive an hour to work in the winter, that can be rough.
Yeah, I've been there during the winter.
So, yeah.
But, just as a place to go, just absolutely love it. And even though South Lake Tahoe is, it's kind of a busy city, and we've been caught in traffic there before. If you go around to other spots of the lake, it's still very much kind of small towny, and not a lot of buildup, especially if you get away from South Lake Tahoe with the big casinos and everything. But anyway, so Sherry and I went up there a couple days earlier, did a ton of hiking, went up to see a little waterfall and did other stuff. So I definitely got my exercise for the trip. So we did all that. And then Friday was kind of the start of ZorkFest, and you got there in the afternoon. And I didn't do any gambling up until that point. It wasn't until you arrived. We stayed at Harrah's. You stayed at Harrah's as well. The room was fine. Probably needs an update. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, I'm sure mine was similar to yours. They could use updates, but it was fine. I had no problem.
It was fine. And one nice thing, it was just a regular room. It was a standard room. It wasn't a suite or anything, but it had 2 bathrooms.
Yes.
Did yours have 2?
Yes, I had 2 as well.
That worked out great. Boy,
I tried to even it out. I tried to get 50-50, but to be honest, I think it was 60-40. I think I used one a little more.
Okay, well, I'm sure...
I kind of feel bad about that.
I'm sure housekeeping appreciated you trying to...
use both of them.
It up, But you arrived. We finally played some craps, and just for a little while, because then... That night, we took part in the panel Influencers After Dark, which was, I don't know how much of an influence or you are or I am, but...
I'd say pretty much 0.
We were on a panel with Tony and Karen from the 360 Vegas podcast and with Josh from the Crap Vegas podcast, and it was moderated by... Vegas introvert, Danny. He did a great job of kind of running it and asking us questions and everything. A lot of questions about gambling in Las Vegas and things like that. I really enjoyed doing that panel. I hope the audience, I don't know if the audience enjoyed it or not, But I was talking to Tony the next day. I could have gone a whole other hour just talking about the things we were talking about.
Right. Yeah. Well, interesting parts for me as far as that panel goes was, what do we think of the future of Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some interesting talk about podcasting itself. I think, you know what, Mark, if I'm going to say influencers on that panel, it's going to be me, you, and Josh are not influencers.
I wouldn't think so. I think Josh would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony and Karen definitely.
Karen,
I think the whole
Karen,
you know, Mark. We talked about how Mark from 360 Vegas does so much work on that podcast. He wasn't on the panel with us, but there's so much valuable information that the three of them give out. Yeah, I'll give it to you. They're influencers.
They're influencers. They give out so much information and necessary information, not so much just stupid stuff. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of stupid stuff on our show. So I take that.
We're cornering that market on stupid stuff. Yeah.
And maybe Josh and Chris, to a certain extent, they let's see what they say about that.
Maybe more Josh than Chris, but yeah.
I'm still not convinced that they're two different people because I've never seen them in the same room together. I think it's one person, and he just does a ton of editing, to make it sound like two, and does a pretty good job. So
he's got one of those machines like Mission Impossible where he can make the skin and pull it over, and he looks just totally different.
Yeah, that's it.
The weird thing is he's got two wives in two different parts of the country.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have brought that up on the show. Yeah. Sorry, Josh.
All right.
Chris.
If you're listening, we're just joking. The wives of that guy / other guy.
Speaking of the 360 folks, the night before, I went down to the gift shop just to get like chips and soda. There were some specific things that I wanted to get just from the gift shop, and it was closed. That happened quite a few times while we were there. I'm sure they're understaffed, but there was a sign there that said, we're closed. We'll be back in a half hour. Head on over to Harvey's to their gift shop. I thought, well, okay, fine. I'll take a walk over there. You can get over there without going outside, right? Because it's connected underground. You go under the street there. So I go over to Harvey's and I go barreling past Karen, Mark, and Tony. I'm coming from behind, so it's not like they were, in front of me walking towards me, but I just went barreling past them. Didn't notice them at all. And then I hear Tony say, there's Mark from You Can Bet on That. And I turn around and there they are. So I was kind of embarrassed about that. But I told him my whole situation, went over to the gift shop at Harvey's. It was also closed back in a half hour.
Head over to Harrah's.
Yeah, right.
Try the Harrah's
one. They should at least coordinate. I understand they're understaffed, but at least coordinate. So,
well, that all goes back to what I was saying earlier about the economy there and getting workers and people. It's a very difficult spot.
I will say, I thought the crews at the craps tables at Harrah's were very good. Didn't you think they were good?
Oh, I thought they were excellent.
Yeah.
They were the right amount of friendly, going fast and everything. Yeah, I thought they did an excellent job.
They did have a slot pull, a group slot pull at ZorkFest that was going on while we were playing craps that first night. I think it was hosted by Matt Bridger, who is a YouTuber. It shows a lot of slot play on that. And they almost doubled their money. The buy-in was like $500, and I think each person cashed out for like $950, something like that.
Yeah, so $950. Yeah,
pull went real well for him. Yeah,
that's sweet.
All right, a couple of interesting things here. Apparently, Josh, his drink of choice is a lemon drop. And apparently he spilled two of them earlier in the day. Might have been back to back. Just glunk, glunk.
Yep.
So I'm sure he'll talk about that on their show. So give them a listen. I had never had one before. And so I ordered one. It was quite good. Sweet. Yeah. I think he actually said, it's not a sissy drink. There's sugar on the rim.
Yeah. Now there's sugar on the rim. That makes it not a sissy drink.
Yeah, it seems like he's contradicting himself there, but there certainly was sugar on the rim and made it extra sweet. So, but lemon drop, I might start ordering those. I agree, they were very tasty.
Why Josh asked me if I wanted to lick his rim, I have no idea.
Yeah, probably because there was sugar on it.
Maybe that must have been. Here we go, Mark. Josh.
So.
Josh is an influencer. He influenced you.
Me.
Yeah, now it's just you and I.
We got together that next morning for coffee dice, We got started kind of milling around about 8:45 to get coordinated and then bought in. Coffee Dice, it didn't go all that well from a luck standpoint, but we certainly had a good time. Marilyn was really the only one who had a really good roll. There were a couple okay ones along the way, but she was the only one. That was early on, so at least it funded us for a little while.
Little bit. Yeah, for a little bit, yeah. I think I was up a couple thousand after her roll.
Yeah.
Then it all just kind of disappeared back, yeah.
And we also played with somebody named Chef Demoni Graham. I thought that was a very unusual first name, Chef Demoni.
Yeah, Chef Demoni.
Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah. I love it, though. And I will honestly suggest that name to all of the people I know who are, expecting.
Yeah. What about Chef Demoni? Have you ever considered it?
Chef Demoni? It doesn't matter, boy or girl. Chef Demoni.
So it was actually
Demoni Graham.
It was actually Graham, who's the host of the Chef Demoni podcast. But that's the way it looked on his name tag, right? Chef Demoni Graham. So anyway, his podcast, he interviews chefs and sometimes lawyers. So there you go, Chef Demoni. So give that podcast a listen if you have a chance.
Is that a bad combination?
I don't know. If you ask him, he says lawyers make some of the best chefs. So
really,
that's what he claims.
Okay. It just seems like an odd combination, lawyers and judges, lawyers and cops, something like that, lawyers and IRS agents.
Yeah.
Chefs should be paired up with artists.
Well, right? Weren't you talking a few episodes ago about a lawyer became a dentist or vice versa? Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be a good combination, but apparently it is.
I guess it was, for him.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know. What do you think would be the best two professions to combine and do both?
How about craps dealer and financial advisor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go, Mark.
You do both. You deal craps during the day.
Day and financial advisor. Actually, that guy works in Lake Tahoe over at Bally's.
Oh, yeah. That guy was talking to us.
Yeah, that guy works at Bally's in Lake Tahoe.
The business of casinos. Yeah.
The business of casinos. He was a crab dealer and a businessman / financial
he knew
advisor.
It all. He had an answer for everything.
He did. He had an answer for everything.
Yeah, we did go to Bally's eventually. One thing that really disappointed us about the rules at Harrah's, only 3, 4, 5 times odds. And you have to pay the VIG up front on buying the 4 and 10. We're so used to Nevada casinos. Well, not just Nevada casinos, but shoot, Mike, you're going to Diamond
Indian
Joe all the
casinos,
time.
Yeah.
Having better rules than that. So we were very surprised. We were happy when we went over to Bally's that they had 10 times odds. And you only had to pay the VIG on buying the 4 and 10 on wins. Now, they did make it clear that was not the case for 5 and 9. So if you wanted to buy the 5 and 9, you had to pay the VIG up front. Which makes that a bad bet. You might as well just place the number. So they did emphasize that, but at least they had that over at Bally's. Let's go back real quick to Harrah's about their rules, and then we'll talk about Bally's. One thing that surprised us, even though they had, not so great rules for craps, they had 50-cent pieces that they would use to pay odds correctly. Like, say somebody bet an odd amount on their odds for the 5 and 9. Say they bet $5 odds. They pay them off in $7.50. Use these 50-cent pieces. And sometimes, if there was a C&E split, that if you actually figured it out, it would pay, 50 cents. They had them for that. So
what I loved is when I'm betting for the dealers, if I put an $18 6 or an 8, that's fine. But sometimes they don't have ones because, I burn through them when I'm paying VIGs. And so I just give them 15. They paid it properly.
Yeah, $17.50.
Yeah, $17.50. They gave $3.50 for the extra $3.
It seems so strange that they would go out of their way to make that right when most casinos don't. But then they have kind of those crummy rules for everything else. Whatever.
It probably turns out that back in the money room in the back, they've just got a boatload of 50-cent pieces left over from machines when they used coins.
Mm-hmm. They haven't been able to get rid of them. They're just trying
they're just trying to get rid of them. Please take these home. And then it backfires on them because people go to the cashier, cash out, and they take their 50-cent pieces and come back to the casino.
Well, we were only at Lake Tahoe, you and I together for a very short time. So basically Saturday, that whole Saturday was gamble, 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 gamble. And it wasn't going so well towards the end. So our friend Marty from Reno, he said, hey, let's go next door to Bally's. They have 10 times odds. So we went over there. They only had one table. I think they had a roll to win also, but only one regular craps table.
Open. They had another one that wasn't open.
Oh, did they? Okay. I didn't
it was kind of across the, where we were, and then there was the roll to win.
Yeah.
It was over on the other side over there. I saw it, but
so we played there. Mike, since we'd been gambling all day, and it's like, this is our last chance to gamble. It was one of those sessions, at least for me, where I can't say I was completely enjoying myself.
Right.
Plus, I'd been drinking earlier, so my stomach wasn't feeling real well, but it's like, we got to power through this. Right.
Right.
So luckily, at least for me, I was winning. All I was doing was $15 pass line, two $15 come with full odds. So $150 odds.
Right.
And that worked out well for me. But again, it's kind of like, I'm just drinking water at that point. And all right, come on. If it had not been going well, I might have just stopped and gone to bed because, again, we've all had those sessions where it's like, am I really enjoying myself that much?
Yeah, well, that's kind of how I felt there, too.
Yeah.
I thought, am I really, why are we here? But I was winning a little and, not a lot, but I was winning, which was way better than earlier in the night.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, okay, like you, let's just power through this. Let's get through until, it's obviously time to go. Yeah. But it wasn't that much fun.
Yeah. And again, at the back of our minds, we're thinking, well, if we don't play now, that's it. Because you're leaving early the next morning.
Right.
So it's
there
like,
wasn't going to be time in the
morning. What are we going to do? We got to play now.
Yeah, we had no choice, Mark.
No choice.
Marty was having a good time.
Oh, man, he was loving it. Yeah, thanks for taking us over there, Marty. He was he had some great rolls, and he was yelling.
Yeah, he had some great rolls, yeah.
Anything else about ZorkFest? I mean, we had a good time, and thanks again.
It was nice to see a lot of people.
Great to see everybody.
That I hadn't seen in a while. Yeah.
Thanks to Michael and Danny for putting everything together. I think they've already planned for next year. They're talking about like November 1st in Las Vegas. So, looking forward to that.
I hope it worked out well for them. I was wondering, I didn't get a chance at the end to ask anybody like, oh, did this go good for you guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and it's got to be so stressful for them too, while everything's going, trying to coordinate it and get it going. So
I think the next one's in Vegas, correct?
Yes, next one's Vegas. Yeah,
in Vegas. Yeah, so that's a little easier because there's a lot more to do and
easier. I know what you're trying to say. Is it easier for Michael? I don't know. But
it may be harder for Michael, but it's easier to attract people.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, for sure. It's
right.
Definitely easier to attract people to Vegas. For sure.
Tahoe's a kind of hard place to attract people. Yeah. You can't fly directly there. You have to go to Reno, and there's all this and that. But Vegas, there's a million flights to.
Yeah.
And then if someone's, wants to do other stuff, there's other stuff to do.
Yep. All right. So that was ZorkFest. Tim Lawson came into town. This seems like a million years ago now, but it was shortly after our last episode. Tim Lawson was in town in San Diego, so he was able to take a day and go with me to do some casino hopping. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because I assume that he's going to ask me to be on his show to talk about it. Although who knows, he just recently released an episode that he and I recorded in March. So what is that, like 7 months later? So I don't know if I realize he's busy. He's got a baby. She's going to be walking here before you know it. And so I'm sure, but so anyway, we might eventually talk about the casino hopping trip that we took when Tim was in town. We just went to some of the casinos that are close to me out here in the East County. We never made it up to Harris, Southern California because it's so much further away from the other places. But we had a good time kind of going to these local ones here. So,
well, I got two things to say about all that, Mark.
All
Number
right.
one, every time I see Tim, I think it's been a million years since I've seen him.
Okay.
He's just one of those guys. You like, God, it's been a long time since I've seen you. And, no, Mike, 2 months ago, we saw each other. Oh, the other thing I have to say about that casino hopping with you and Tim is when you assume, Mark, you know what happens.
Yeah, I know what happens, Mike.
To you and Paul.
Yeah. Good luck to our new listeners, and sorry to all of our longtime listeners who may get that so-called joke. All right. Well, on the last episode, I was kind of saying, well, should I keep doing you can bet on that TV listings and movie page? And, are people really getting anything out of it? Well, we did get some feedback that say, oh, yeah, Mark, I rely on these things. So anyway, I'm going to continue to do it for now. TV listings, certainly until the TV landscape changes so much that it just doesn't make sense anymore. And then we got some people who said, oh, I don't even care about the TV listings, but I really appreciate the movie page because I find out about movies that maybe I didn't know about. So anyway, for now, I'm going to keep them going. Good news, I suppose, Dr. Mike. And like you kind of said in the last episode too, I find stuff out when I do it as well. So, it's not like, I'm just doing it for listeners. I'm doing it for myself as well.
Right. And, influencing people, that's kind of your thing.
Yeah. So you're really the only one. I'm going to say Josh is an influencer. You're just the only one who's not an influencer, Mike.
Yeah. Now that I think of it, it's just me. I haven't influenced anybody.
And in reality, you might be the biggest influencer of them all, Dr. Mike. So think about
I don't
that
know
for
about
a second.
that.
Yeah, you might be. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. You can bet on that.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, last time we heard from Ian. He was in Australia giving us a report on the casinos in Sydney. Here's Ian again with a little more information about Australian casinos.
Hi, Mark, Dr. Mike. It's Ian from Leicester giving you an update from Australia. As I said to you last time, I'd been to the Sydney casino. I meant to mention that it's the first time playing craps I've ever seen somebody playing the Big Six and Big Eight. And interestingly enough, it was a young lad who seemed to know what he was doing mainly on the craps table apart from this. He was on the 6 and 8, and then halfway through a roll, he said, oh, I'll move it now to play 6 and 8. I feel lucky. And I thought, it's the same numbers, isn't it? But better odds. Anyway, that was an interesting one. We've flown up to Cairns, which is about a 3.5-hour flight north of Sydney. When we got there, the guy said, welcome to 1983. So it is a little bit of a back in time, but a pleasant casino in the Pullman Cairns Hotel. Good casino. No craps, though. In fact, craps seems to be fairly rare throughout people I've been talking to. Even in Melbourne, I heard somebody had said the craps table has been closed in one of the casinos there. And a guy that I met in Sydney had flown over from New Zealand because some of the New Zealand casinos had stopped doing craps, mainly because of the manpower required to run them. But Cairns is, I would describe it, it's a big casino, but a bit like you get on a cruise ship. It's like a giant cruise ship casino. Lots of pokey machines, or slots as we know them as, roulette, $2.50 roulette. So you actually get $2.50 chips, which is quite interesting. So it was good fun, good vibe, good 1970s band on, but it's not Vegas, and I certainly wouldn't fly to Australia just for casinos. But interesting journey nonetheless, and I hope this information is helpful. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks again, Ian. Yeah, I can't understand why somebody would start on the Big 6 and 8 and then move it up. Like if you're here in the United States, you just put $3 on the Big 6 or 8. And they don't have 50-cent pieces like we talked about at Tahoe. Well, okay, then it doesn't matter because it's just going to pay $3. I'll tell you what, Mike, I respect any casino that doesn't have the Big 6 and 8 on their craps layout.
Right. Well, that means that they're a casino that knows that's a significantly worse bet. Most people aren't going to do it. Why would I want it on my table to take up space?
Yeah,
right?
And you never see people bet it. And if you do, it's somebody who is new to the game and doesn't know. Right. And so, is that the point? The casino just wants to take advantage of people who don't know what they're doing? I shouldn't answer that. That's a rhetorical question because I know that they do. But anyway, go ahead, Dr. Mike.
Even those people, Mark, I guarantee you, unless they're the only one on the table, within a minute, somebody around them says, oh, no, put your money up there. It pays much better. Yeah. So they're there for maybe a roll, right? So why have it?
Yep. Let's put that out to casinos. If you care about mine and Dr. Mike's respect, get those Big 6 and 8s off the felt.
Get them off the table. Maybe we should do a public service announcement, Mark.
That's right. Shaming the casinos that have it.
Crying 80-year-old grandma crying at the table. That's right. Why is the Big 6 and 8 here? Please, just 50 cents a day will keep the casinos from putting Big 6 and Big 8.
That's why they're losing money, Mike. If they didn't have the Big 6 and 8, they wouldn't be able to stay in business.
Yeah.
Just like the know-it-all dealer at Bally's was talking about, well, that's why they have to deal 6-5. We've heard that before, right? Another caller said, oh, we wouldn't be able to make money if we, had to pay 3-2 on all our blackjacks. It's like, really? It's that close? You're that close to going out of business.
You're right on the line there, Mark. Jeez. When I walk into the casino, first thing I think is, what keeps the lights on in here? It's ridiculous. I mean, they're not making any profit.
All right. Next call.
Hey, guys. Just want you to know, really love the show. I've been listening for a while. I've got a story I want to tell, but I'll save that for another time. But I did get into southern Indiana and went to a casino I hadn't been before, and they had bubble craps, and I couldn't place odds on a come bet. It would not let me do it, or at least I couldn't figure out how to do it, and I tried multiple times. I never did ask for any help, but am I missing something? Anyway, again, appreciate the show. John from Kentucky. I'll be calling back. Thanks.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Sometimes it's not very obvious where you're supposed to make the odds bet. Now, John was saying on come bet, so I assume he was able to do it on pass line bets. Just on
I would hope.
Yeah. It's going to depend on the machine. I know that some of these individual craps machines, it'll actually prompt you. Do you want any odds on this come bet that just went up there? Sometimes it's right next to where it's moved the come bet. Again, it's going to depend on the machine, so we can't tell you exactly where it is. But we're guessing that, you probably just missed it, and you're just going to have to ask, one of the slot attendants or something, hey, how do I take odds here?
There should be a way, unless that's one of those casinos, Mark, that's right on the edge of going out of business.
Oh, yeah.
And the last thing they want is somebody taking odds.
Yeah, a bet that they have no advantage on.
Right.
And that the player doesn't have an advantage on, too. So, you're probably right.
Big sign on the machine. Due to the amount of electricity and the fact that we're going to go out of business at any moment, odds are not offered on come bets.
No odds. You can make it on a pass line bet. Sure.
Yeah.
We're not monsters.
Yeah, no, we're not that cruel. But on come bets, no odds. Any problems? See the attendant.
All right, next call.
Hey guys, this is Joseph from Grand Prairie, Texas, right outside of Dallas, home of a top welterweight boxer, Virgil Ortiz, and for Dr. Mike's information, Selena Gomez. Oh, and me, Joseph. Anyway,
nice.
I just wanted to call and echo the sentiments of another caller about the downtown Grand. It's not the most extravagant place. If you want some pretty walls to look at, I guess you can go to the Strip and overpay for everything. But, they have weekly blackjack tournaments, low limits on tables, and they have a $2 hot dog and beer cart. And, if you want some value for your buck, that's a good place to go. It's always one of my stops. But anyway, I just wanted to call and say those few things, let Dr. Mike know I'm from Selena Gomez's hometown. You guys have a good day, and thanks for what you do. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right. More love for downtown Grand.
That we
I like also that. Echo. You and I stayed there once too, Mike, in the hotel.
Yeah,
it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah.
The rooms weren't bad at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. So,
well, Joseph, gosh, you're right there with Selena, man. Can you just go over and kind of, knock on her door, her family, talk to them, see if there's any chance she could come to Minnesota or Iowa, or I could meet her in Vegas or somewhere?
Yeah.
Hook me up, man.
Yeah, Joseph, if you could do that, leave my name out of it. But see if maybe you can make some arrangements with Selena Gomez's family.
Yeah, Selena Gomez's family. I just like to meet her. That's all.
Okay. Get back to us, Joseph. All right. Next up is Dave. The audio's a little rough, especially at the beginning, but it gets a little bit easier to understand as it goes on. So here we go.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Dave calling just outside Washington, D.C. A trip report from the Atlantis, the Bahamas. I took advantage of being a season diamond member and took the family out there for a 4-night trip. Stayed at the Coral Tower. It's really lovely. Highly recommended to anyone that wants to take advantage of that opportunity. Gambling was pretty good as well. Some very unique things at their casino there. The casino is being renovated right now, so Probably a third of it is kind of walled off. It looks like it'd be very nice under the sun. I was pretty impressed with the amount of games they had there, all the most popular slots as well. Had a very interesting situation happen. Playing 3-card poker, you can only use one hand to pick up your cards, and they're very, very strict about having cell phones out at the table. While playing 3-card poker, a gentleman, he was not doing very well at all, but then got a royal in spades and actually won the $28,000 progressive jackpot, which was really amazing to be able to see someone do that. The gentleman was super, super nice. He gave me and another woman that was at the table, when he won, each a $500 chip, which I thought was just beyond generous and beyond what my wildest imagination would be for someone that won a prize like that. So special thanks to him. It took a long time for them to pay out the actual jackpot. Folks had to come down from their gaming commission, verify everything, and I was actually really surprised to see that they paid out the jackpot to him in chips, so mostly $2,500 chips. Again, really cool to see that. Very nice casino there. Limits were not as high as I thought they would be for a resort like that, and kind of being stuck there with your only gambling option. Hope folks check it out. Thank you guys for all that you do. Hope you had a good time at ZorkFest, and keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, congratulations on getting a nice tip and seeing that Royal Flush jackpot. You know, certainly if you're at a blackjack pitch game, you know, cards down, they will only let you pick up the 2 cards with one hand. But for games where there are 3 or more cards, I've always seen players allowed to use both hands. And 3-card poker is certainly one of them.
Yeah, if you picked up your 3-card poker hand with one hand, you know, a lot of people like to make sure they have a straight or a flush, you know, they line them up.
I could see some people having trouble with that. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are some who no problem, but I could see maybe an older person or something like that. Or
just somebody who's unfamiliar with the game.
Yeah.
Maybe they just learned poker, you know, and they like to put their 3, 4, 5 in a row, you know. Right. Yeah.
Move them around.
Cards,
that's a good point. That's what you were saying about.
How do you move them around with one hand?
Yeah. That's a good point. You'd have to put it back on the table and stuff. Yeah.
I think the reason that Dave saw that there was because, you know, Atlantis is right on the edge of going out.
Oh, and that's another thing. The cheating at the 3-card poker is really bad.
Right.
People introducing cards and stuff.
Exactly. Well, and that's why Dave, when he called on that house phone, that's why it's so garbly, Mark.
Oh, he was calling on the house phone.
He was on the Atlantis house phone, and you know, it's rotary dial.
Yeah. Put me through to the You Can Bet on That hotline.
Yeah, right.
One moment,
All
sir.
Right. We'll get the operator. Has anyone talked to a telephone operator in a while?
I think most of our listeners don't even know what a telephone operator is.
Yeah. Party lines is what I loved. Party lines.
Right.
Oh, they should bring that back. People wouldn't have to watch TV. You just pick up the phone and listen to somebody else's conversation.
Yeah, people wouldn't have to watch TV. Make another good point, Dr.
They're
Mike.
forced to watch TV now, Mark. No party lines.
All right. Let's hear from our buddy Andrew.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Andrew from Phoenix. Long time. Hope you guys are doing well and had a good trip up to Tahoe. Just wanted to call in after seeing the Chargers Monday night game and seeing that Chargers fans just so excited for their team. If you guys had an equivalent gambling ecstasy story where just the roll was so good you couldn't control yourself. I was thinking back, and one of the Vegas vacations that we all went to at the D, we had a really epic roll where you could see the dust rings around all the 5s and 25 chips. And so I think that would be my closest equivalent. I don't know if I can match her enthusiasm, but it's still pretty something special to see, and just curious if you guys have any relatable stories on that topic. Hope you're doing well and hope to see you out in Vegas sometime. Talk to you later.
Yeah, Andrew, that's actually a very good example. We certainly remember that time at the D. I mean, that might be our answer. What do you think, Dr. Mike?
Well, it was either that time or the time at Planet Hollywood when I don't think you were there, Mark.
Oh, no?
Well,
a different time.
Well,
okay.
that one when you were there was Monster.
Okay.
But there was another time when I was there and it was just Andrew on the table with me. And he was having some libations and we were doing really well. And I think I had a good time seeing Andrew very excited about those roles.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the time at Planet Hollywood when we were there for 6 hours and the dice went around the table once. Yeah,
yes.
That was and one of those rollers was me, and I immediately 7'd out. So I was like, everyone else rolled once.
Everyone
in
else
6
just
hours.
had a monster roll.
Yeah.
That was an exciting trip.
Yeah.
Anytime you see dust, it's exciting.
It's always exciting.
That means the chips are leaving faster than they can get fills in there.
Yeah. All right. Last call.
Mark and Dr. Mike, this is Dylan from Houston, longtime listener, first-time caller. Calling about a little trip report I made to the Golden Nugget, Las Vegas. Stayed one night with the explicit purpose of betting $1,000 on one hand of baccarat. If I were to win, I was going to go to Japan. And if I were to lose, I was just going to go back home and have a little staycation. No big deal. I work for the airline, so airfare isn't really a factor for me. Anyways, I get there. I bet player. Hand comes out. Face card 5 for player and face card 9 for dealer. Well, that's all she wrote. Took it on the chin. Hey, that happens. We're gamblers. Since I was there, though, flew all that way, decided I'd throw about $140 on craps. Nothing too crazy. Went to zero on that in about 30 minutes. Not a good gambling trip. But you know what? Still had a lot of fun. Discovered a bar called Berlin's. They have punk rock karaoke on Monday night. Pretty fun. Highly recommended. About a 15-minute walk from Fremont, 5-minute drive. The Golden Nugget, Las Vegas. How do you guys feel about it? How do y'all rate it? Because in my mind, first off, it's too crowded, and the casino floor is so confusing. I think it's like a 4-star hotel that's run like a 3-star hotel that thinks it's a 5-star hotel. Now, hear me out. I think it's so crowded because it's got 2,500 rooms. Circa's got 777 rooms. The Plaza's got 990 rooms. It's got way too many rooms for the size of the property. I love the property. I love the poker. I love the gambling, but it's just too crowded, and I don't know how y'all feel about it. But anyways, love the show. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about Golden Nugget. What do you think, Dr. Mike?
Oh, I agree with him 100%.
Yeah.
It's too crowded. It's almost claustrophobic. There's that one craps table on the end, and if you stand on the end there, I mean, you're constantly getting bumped by people walking by you. The tables are all crammed in there, and he's right. There's way too many rooms and stuff there for the amount of people, and it's kind of getting run down and beat up. I would love to see the Golden Nugget get refurbished.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time we stayed there. It was probably a few years ago, but it was one of their newer rooms, and it was very nice, right?
Yeah.
See, that's why I kind of have mixed feelings, right? It's a nice property in a lot of ways, but it is too crowded. I've had some surly dealers at Golden Nugget.
Very surly, yeah.
Their rules are not as good as a lot of the other downtown properties because I think they can get away with it because they consider themselves a strip-like property.
They consider themselves a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, I loved how he said that. 4-star hotel that's run like a 3-star that thinks it's a 5-star. I love that.
Yep. Also, that was the place where that one New Year's Eve, you and I won all that money.
Oh, yeah. I definitely remember that.
So that kind of always, in the back of my mind when I think of Golden Nugget.
Hey, remember that time we valeted there and we were on our way to the airport? We went to the valet and it was taking forever. And they'd forgotten about us.
Right. Yep.
So, there are all these different things that, we think about when we think of the Golden Nugget over the years.
I remember us sitting on the bench, and after a while, we're like, should we say something? It's been a while.
Yeah. And then finally, somebody, got their car who had come after us. And it's like, okay, something's up.
And we went, and the guy, oh, yeah, you guys still here?
How do you forget about that, right? Isn't there one guy who grabs it and gets the key and then goes run and gets the car? What happened?
That guy got fired halfway to our car, Mark.
At least they found our keys.
He's running to the thing. He got fired because they were overstaffed and they're almost ready to go out of business. That's the guy they chose. Let's get rid of him. That'll save us some money. And then the keys were just sitting there, I guess.
Yeah, probably just in the car door, right? So, okay, yeah. Luckily, you left them. Anyway, yeah, Golden Nugget mixed bag. Hey, Dylan, good for you deciding, hey, I'm just going to put $1,000 on a baccarat, and good for you for telling us about it, even though you lost. You know, a lot of people might not even have told the story unless it was a win. So good for you.
Yeah, good for you. Actually, when he was thinking that, I was thinking, I don't know if I'd be telling this story if it was me.
Yeah, that's great.
But good for him. That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
You've seen me do that a few times, Mark, when not in a long time, but years back, I'd be down on a trip and I'd just say, oh, I'm just going to go over and put a $1,200 eight.
Yeah, you've done that, but that's more of a desperation move. This is something that he decided he was going to do ahead of time to either go on a trip or just stay home. So I admire that.
He works for the airlines. So
okay, sure.
If he loses, he can just go get on a plane and go home. The rest of us can't do that, right?
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, sorry we're late. We will try to get back into our every 2 weeks, starting with the next one. Mike, you got a couple more donations for your shoe drive. Tim Lawson, actually, when he was here, gave me some money to hand on to you for the shoe drive. So thank you, Tim.
Right.
And also, there's a new podcast out there called Vegas Vice. We met Elliot at ZorkFest. He's doing a podcast right now with our friend Zach, that you know from the Minnesota area.
Here in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's called Vegas Vice. So give that a listen, a very new podcast. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. They gave us a donation too. They made a side bet with one of their guests strip walking, and it was determined that the winnings would go to your shoe drive. So again, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And also, thank you to Chuck. He decided that if he had a nice win, he would send 10% of his winnings to you for the shoe drive. And he had an amazing comeback after it looked like he was going to have a losing session. So thank you very much, Chuck.
Yeah, that was a very, very big, nice donation.
Hey, we also wanted to thank Zach. Speaking of Zach, last year when we met up at Diamond Joe, he made a couple of baseball bets for us. He bet that the Padres would win the World Series. He also bet that the Twins would win the World Series. So thanks for those bets, Zach. We do appreciate it. Hey, at least the Twins came kind of close.
Yeah, and you know what? The Padres should have been there, right?
Yeah, all right. Anyway, thank you, Zach. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Don't get me started.
All right. We want to thank some people for some recurring donations. Jeremy at the Color Up YouTube channel. James. Kurt. Robin at NE Time Gambling. Nathan. Brian Dancer. Brian and Sarah. Josh. And the guys over at Crap Vegas. See, this is what happens when we don't do a podcast for 4 weeks. We got a lot of extra recurring donations to go through there. Also, our good friend Marty, he said, looking forward to a bunch of monster rolls in Tahoe. Well, Marty, at least we had some good ones. We were over at Bally's, so thank you again. Also, a donation from Frank, spending a night in Reno. Wish me luck. Well, hopefully you had some good luck there. Also, a donation from Todd. No message with that donation, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
We got a donation from Bert. Karma donation for my return to Craps in Biloxi, November 9th through the 12th. I went back and listened to every episode starting with the bathtub series to get inspired. Ugh. Sorry about that, Bert. I became a VP player after so many horrible crap sessions. Trip report later, Bert from Virginia. So hopefully you'll have good luck on that trip. And finally, a donation from Brian. Karma donation from Brian W. for his annual Vegas trip. Well, good luck to you, Brian. Hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet on That t-shirts. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. And we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at Facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Dr. Mike, what do you got for us?
Well, Mark, World Series starts tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I don't know how good the ratings are going to be, but I am very excited that it's these two teams. Yeah.
Who are you rooting for?
Oh, gosh, I guess I've got to root for Texas because, Arizona, they had that win right after they became a franchise, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, how about root for Texas because Bruce Bochy's the coach?
Oh, of course, that too. Ex-Padre coach. Yeah. Absolutely.
Ex-Padre. Yeah. And a great guy. Bruce Bochy's a great guy.
Okay, so we're going for the Rangers, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, we're going for the Texas Rangers. Okay. Sorry for you Houston people who...
Are you really?
Yeah, no, I'm patronizing him, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I'm patronizing him.
All right. Sorry, Danny, Vegas introvert. He's a Houston fan.
He's a Houston fan. I know. Hey, look, they've got to take a little grief for what happened.
I agree. They really did not get punished for that cheating. I mean,
not significant enough punishment. No. So anyway, I'm super looking forward to the World Series. And then you've got football and basketball and hockey.
Yep.
We're getting into a sweet spot of the year where a lot of things go well for us sports-wise.
Yep.
And this weekend, I'll be heading down to Diamond Joe for a bunch of craps play with some people from the town here that we live in.
Oh, very good. So, this episode will actually drop after you've already gone on that trip. So hopefully you'll have some good luck.
We'll see how we do. Yep. It's a big weekend for us here in Minnesota because, the Vikings are playing the Packers. Uh-huh. And since the town where I live in is kind of very, very close to Wisconsin, it's just a few miles. We're right on the border. Half the people in this town are Packer fans and half of them are Viking fans. And one of them's a Charger fan.
Yeah.
So,
who that is. He's having a good year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's having a great year. Those Chargers, they look good. Boy, I'll tell you what, Mark.
What?
Is that a team that can find a way to lose?
You're telling me this means nothing to me. That comment means nothing to me. I've been hearing that for 50 years.
They find ways to lose. It is absolutely amazing. Just when you think you've exhausted every way to lose, don't worry. The Chargers will find another way this weekend. Oh, my God. They drive me crazy.
You got to drop them, Dr. Mike. I dropped them. as soon as they left town.
I know. It's just, me. I'm a glutton for
I do
punishment.
know you. It's true. You are. In more ways than one, Dr. Mike. I'm glad you're admitting that to yourself.
I know. I've always known that, Mark. I'm a glutton for punishment. I just figure if I take it, no one else will have to.
So it's a selfless...
It's a selfless act.
Okay, I got you.
I want to keep casinos in business because I enjoy going. Yeah. The only way that's going to happen is if I, donate quite often.
Yeah. That's part of their business plan.
That's part of their model. The bank's trying to figure it out. Well, wait a minute. What's this part about?
Oh, Dr. Mike is one of your players. Of course we'll approve this loan.
Yeah, this is a for sure.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Did you guys see me? I was on fire tonight. Man, I can't wait to get back to the shore. God, I love gambling!